evening, everybody. Before we begin, I just want to ask everyone to please turn off your cell phones. Please turn off your cell phones before we start. Thank you very much. My name is Rivka Siegel, and on behalf of OU Israel Center, it's a pleasure to welcome everyone here, and a special pleasure to welcome Rabbi Glaser to our center. Rabbi Glaser is a Rav in Torah here in Yerushalayim. He lectures here in Israel and really worldwide. He's renowned as a lecturer who keeps the audiences captivated and leaving with a new understanding of the knowledge and, of course, of themselves as well. He's a surfer, he's a mountain biker, and a professional musician. So a Renaissance man we have this evening, and we're excited that you're here. Specifically, Rabbi Glaser's expertise is in spirituality, in psychotherapy, and lastly, what we're doing this evening in Kabbalah. And we very much welcome you and thank you for joining us this evening, Rabbi Glaser.
Thank you. Of all my introductions, that was my most recent one. It was beautifully done. I would welcome you, but I think you're welcoming me. I just flew in last night from a 20-day tour in Mexico City, Brooklyn, and Las Vegas.
Brooklyn.
So, yeah, I've been all around. You guys mind if I loosen up a bit? Okay. The terms Kosher Kabbalah was, I don't even know where we got that name, but I'm not sure I like it so much because it sounds like there's a non-kosher Kabbalah. And there is definitely not a non-kosher Kabbalah. Any Kabbalah is kosher, but obviously it's misused in all kinds of ways, and plenty of non-kosher outlets for it. But Kabbalah is Kabbalah, and regarding the side of the question of learning Kabbalah in, first of all, we've got a co-ed scene. I think everyone looks like they're almost 40. There's a couple of ladies who don't look almost 40 over here. The bands of being like 40 years old and being also a Torah scholar already and these things. So that's a highly misunderstood aspect of the study of Kabbalah. They were set up, those rules, first of all, that were only embraced by the Ashkenazic community. The Sephardic community never embraced those restrictions. And even in the Ashkenazic world, it was only referring to the more dangerous parts of Kabbalah. There are aspects of Kabbalah that can be destabilizing for the individual studying it, as well as they can be dangerous for the people around them. We're talking about matter manipulation, using God's names and stuff. There's definitely danger there, and the reason it's no longer so dangerous is because we just don't have that kind of scholarship to access those aspects of Kabbalah. Anything that would be dangerous is not going to be accessed by us. I myself, I'm studying Kabbalah now with a really, really great, accomplished Kabbalist. I'm studying with him now for 20 years. I just hit 20 years with him. And
you're not 60.
Yeah, I'm not 60, and I'll tell you, to this day, if I open up the Arizal, like the writings of the Ari, which are in Aramaic, and they're dealing with the most esoteric things, I can translate the sentences, but I have no idea what I'm talking about. So even the Kabbalah that I'm old enough to be studying and versed enough to be studying, meaning the more dangerous stuff that requires, serious surgical gloves, I don't understand a word of it. And so it's really been a couple hundred years since those bands came in. To tell you just a bit of the history of it, the Jewish people always had Kabbalah and revealed and hidden Torah as part of our diet. There was Kabbalistic Torah, that's the hidden Torah, and then there was the revealed Torah, which was like Talmud, Halacha, Torah. And those were always together. We were always, part of the wholeness of Jewish life was the written law, the oral law, which split into law and Kabbalah. So for every law you'll find in the oral law, you will find a Kabbalistic secret for why, or reasoning why there is such a halacha. So it could be something as obscure as putting our tefillin above our hairline to make sure the tefillin isn't below the hairline. An obscure law in the oral law. But when you look in the Kabbalah, so it'll say some very special things about this part of the head, which is, as we all know, I'm not going to go into the details, but this is where the hole is. Between the three parts of the skull, there's a little aperture there that is called the pineal. Sorry, it's not the pineal, that's a gland.
Right,
it's called
fontanelle.
the fontanelle, which I love that name because it's kind of the fountain of God. And we have to have the tefillin over the fontanelle, which is like a little aperture, a little chimney or some pipe to the cerebral cortex, which is, a chance for our brains to take in, before we go into our day, to take in, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, right over the cerebral cortex, over the fontanelle. So you'll see in all these obscure laws are little Kabbalistic explanations of what's going on there. And that's totally kosher, and that's the stuff we need to know. If we don't know the difference between the name Hashem and the name Elokim, so then what exactly are we doing every time we make a bracha? Because every bracha we're going to say, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu. Well, why do we have to have two names of God in a bracha? And what's the difference between the two? And you're going to find that in the Kabbalah. And you're going to say Shema. Every time we do the mitzvah of Shema, you have to know what you're saying. It's Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. We've got two names of God right there. And what do we mean when we say Shakai, Shin, Dalet, and Yud, which are on the doorposts? We say Na'aleinu, L'sakin Oilam, B'malchutz, Shakai. And why are we using that name? And what is Tzfakot? We say, these are names, we're saying them every day. Hashem, Tzfakot, Imanu, Mizgav Lanu. We have to know these things. And the only way you're going to know them is in Kabbalah. And Kabbalah will explain these details. Now, I would really love to do a series, and I don't know if this is a series, so I think what I'll do is just dazzle you tonight, and then if it becomes a series, I do a series in Kabbalah, and if there's interest, I'll be happy to do it. The last time I taught the whole series was at Hebrew University. And each semester I would do a full semester series in Kabbalah, and we go step by step, and we had a lot of fun there. Because it was just a very popular class. And the class always started in a room about a quarter this size, and by around the fourth week, maybe the fifth week, we would be in a room about this size, and then by the seventh or eighth week, we would be in a big auditorium. And then it just kept getting bigger and bigger. It was a lot of fun, but eventually, I can't be governed on what I say. That's why I just had so much fun because I got to speak in Las Vegas. Whatever you say in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas. It was such a blessing to be completely unfiltered for our whole Shabbos. At the end of the Shabbos, I said to Rabbi Wine there, he's the rabbi of the young Israel, I just said to him, listen, if anyone complains, about my crazy speeches that I gave, next time just tell me. But I had to just have a chance to say what needs to get said. And I did it. And they really, really appreciate it. I'm sure that someone was upset. I mean, the definition of a rabbi. The definition of a rabbi is to comfort the afflicted and to afflict the comfortable. So, if you're not upsetting somebody, you're not doing your job. The scary thing about pulpit rabbis is, their salary is being paid by the wealthiest people in the shul usually, and those are not the people you want to afflict. Which means that you're a little bit busted. Hey, there's my neighbor. Hi, that's Nechama Rivka. Our doors literally face each other. Thank you so much for coming to my class. I wish I could have given you a ride, maybe on the way back. So, yes, I'm scared for these pulpit rabbis because here are these people, they're paying their money to help this rabbi, live and have a house and have a car and put his kids in school and health insurance and all that. And then they get upstairs and they're totally busted because they didn't have a proper rabbi to help rebuke them in ways they needed rebuking. Because the rabbi was afraid to rebuke people who were paying his salary. And so pulpit rabbis have to be very tough. Pulpit rabbis have to be strong. Because I wouldn't want to be that pulpit rabbi coming upstairs to find out that his main benefactors got ripped off. So, but you'll see, if you see a pulpit rabbi who has the courage to rebuke his biggest supporters, you'll see he only gets more and more respect from them. And all the more so he's their rabbi. And you see it. Those are the ones who are built to last. Are really in it for the right reasons. Okay, so here we go. We're going to take a 6-step journey. Normally I use a whiteboard, but you're just going to have to memorize the steps without the whiteboard. Okay, it's a 6-step journey. Oh, we have a whiteboard?
We'll get you one.
It's all right. In the meantime, we'll memorize them. I need you to bear with me a little bit because I'm a non-religious Jew. Okay, I am a non-religious Jew, and I just sorry for being so provocative in saying that, but I do not believe. Basically, religion. The difference between a cult and a religion to me is the number of followers. So, meaning if you take any world religion and boil it down to 10 people, you got yourself a cult. But if you boil down Judaism, you wind up with 3 million people at the bottom of a mountain. Now, unless they were given psychedelics, it was the revelation of the Torah at Mount Sinai, the revelation of God at Mount Sinai. And that's not a religion. That's just facts on the ground. Our history is facts on the ground. So I'm not a very religious Jew. I'm a very observant Jew, not a very religious Jew. And I don't like that word very much. And I can't even remember why I'm even discussing that. Oh, yes, is to bear with me, because I will say things that don't make a knee-jerk reaction as I go. Especially steps 1 and 2. Step 1, before there was something, what was there? God, okay, he's getting religious. I'm kidding. You're absolutely right, but we're going to start more basic, though, before we get to God. That's step 2. Before there was something, there was, if you're a physicist, and you're saying before there was something, what was there? Nothing. And if you look at Genesis also, what's the very first words? In the beginning, God created heaven and the earth. And before there was heaven and earth, what was there? Nothing. It wasn't Tohu. Just to teach you a little Kabbalah on Tohu. Tohu was a mixture of darkness and light. And when God said, let there be light, he was separating darkness from light. He was taking the Tohu, which was a mixture of darkness and light, and then saying, let there be light, was the separation of darkness and light. So before there was something, there was nothing. Whether you're a physicist or whether you're a Kabbalist, it's the same. Because before that, before God created the world, there existed absolute nothingness. Undifferentiated oneness, but nothingness. Now, step 1, just do it with me so you memorize it. Before there was something, there was? Nothing. Can we get a little louder there? Before there was something, there was? Nothing. Don't forget I'm jet lagged, so you guys got to keep me up. My wife served me delicious brown rice and string beans and tofu, and she came in to check how I was enjoying it, and I was fast asleep. Like tofu on my fork. Like that. Okay, my neck still hurts. Before, I thought you only have to do that in airplanes. I was doing it at the dinner table. Before there was something, there was nothing. Now we'll get to the God part. What does Judaism call the nothing
Tohu.
that precedes the something? would say Tohu, we just discussed Tohu. No, we're still on the nothing. We're still at nothing. But we have a term for nothing. What is the term we have? Oh, so that you would say ayin. So the word would be ayin, which means nothingness. Yeah. So the answer is yes. You got it right. The answer is ayin, which is nothing. Before there was something, there was nothing, and the Jewish term is ayin. But I'd like to go even simpler. You guys want something simpler? Oh, how's that? Better? You hear me better now? Something simpler than ayin is, ready for this? I mean, it's kind of a sophisticated term. God. G-D. Okay? Which is my favorite name of God, by the way. I love the name God. G-D. You know why? It don't mean nothing. It's a symbol. It's a symbol we use to think about this being. Whereas all the Hebrew names of God are highly complex action verbs of how God does things. So the other ones are highly descriptive. Whereas the name God is zero description. It doesn't mean anything. It is the universal term for what we don't know, which is God. For example, you might say there's nothing in my hands right now. Is there nothing in my hands? My hands are full. Your mind can't even go there. Whereas the other names of God, oh my gosh, there's tremendous explanations where your mind can go. But the name God doesn't mean anything. It's just a symbol for the actual God, which you cannot even describe. And when I was teaching the Technion Physics Department, I was teaching the graduate Technion Physics Department this particular class, and they were moving along with me until one of them raised their hand and said, Rabbi, we are scientists, and we do not call it God. We just call it a question mark. And I looked at him and I said, oh yeah, what does God mean? He just kind of sat there thinking, and he was like, touche. Keep going, Rabbi. So I kept going. That was it. And that's the beauty of the name. It doesn't mean anything. It itself it doesn't mean anything you would conceive of. It's a symbol for that which you cannot conceive of. And that's the name God. Really appreciate it. And by the way, I think the best name we have for it in Hebrew is Kel, Aleph and Lamed. Aleph and Lamed, it has meaning. For sure it has meaning. But, for example, when you say Kel Elyon in Shmoneh Esrei, that's a good time to like. But the best name of all for the nothing aspect, meaning the non-thing aspect of this God that is preceding all things, of all the names, well, let's give you guys a quiz. We call God 4 names every bracha. Okay, what do we call him? We call him Atah, Hashem, Elokeinu, and Melech. We call him a king. Those are the 4 options. Okay, all in favor of Atah, raise your hand. All in favor of Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei, which we're voting on the holiest name. Atah, Hashem, Elokeinu, Melech. No one's going for the Melech? Okay, so the answer is, survey says, Kabbalists say, Atah is the holiest of all the names. Because that's essence. That's the essence. Give you an example. Let's say, what's your name, sir?
Ralph.
Ralph? So imagine I spoke to you, Ralph, and I'm like, would Ralph like to take a walk with me? Yeah. You could look at me and be like, what do you mean, would Ralph like to take a walk? You understand? Because Ralph is already one of the ways you manifest. Yeah, you wear a vest that's kind of a Spanish type vest. You'd wear yellow neon yellow sneakers. You know what I mean? Like you have your eye color, your skin color, your beard style. These are all manifestations, and so is the name Ralph. When I call you Ralph, would Ralph like to take a walk? It feels weird. But think about this, if you want to go deep. If I say, would you like to take a walk? Who are you? You want to point to here? That's a pump. That's not you. You want to point to here? Those are neurons. You're certainly not a neuron. You're not one of them, you're not a billion of them. So who is it really? And the answer is, when I call you you, I'm really speaking to your essence, which is the neshama. The essence of a person is the neshama. not the body. And so too, when you're using the names of God, the holiest of all those 4 names in the bracha is Atah. And it's a lot of fun too. Anyone study philosophy here? University of Philosophy? Oh, you did? Remember deconstructionist philosophy? You ever get there? As graduate level. You ever get there? Oh, it's the highest level of philosophy, ready for this, in university. It's called deconstructionism. They give it an ism because you can become it. Yeah. It could be your new religion. Deconstructionism means you deconstruct the meaning of everything. Of everything. Like, for example, you're going to read, they would make us read like Moby Dick, and we'd have to read Moby Dick and give a new meaning to the whole book based on a female midget who was an only child. And we have to read it as if who wrote that book? That was Herman Melville. As if Herman Melville had nothing to do with the meaning of that book. And if you would have dared mention that Herman Melville gets a say in his book in the deconstructionist philosophy department, it was like blasphemy. How dare you say anything can have meaning intrinsically planted by the author? Whoa! I walked out of that class, I'm like, where's the nearest bridge? How do I get rid of the thought that everything's absolutely and totally meaningless? But later I found the book of Koheles and found out that even Judaism has a book that everything is absolutely and totally meaningless, except what a lot of people don't understand about the book, which you have to see the Zohar in Parshas Bo. It says whenever it says that the whole world's meaningless, which is the whole book, whenever he says that, he always says under the sun. And says the Zohar, when he says under the sun, you have to throw your thumb. Under the sun is meaningless, however, what? Over the sun, meaning Hashem's will and wisdom for creation. That's meaningful. So whether your spouse closes the toothpaste or leaves the toothpaste cap open, it's meaningless. It's just meaningless. But when God says something's meaningful, that comes from above the sun. So if you see a cow, it's meaningless. A vegetarian says, oh, what a beautiful cow. A meat eater says, oh yeah, frankly, I think of burgers when I see this cow. Arbitrary, meaningless. And for every person you'll meet, they'll have a different meaning. But you slaughter the cow, and you turn its skin into parchment, and then you write a Torah on it. You make mezuzahs, or you make tefillin. So that's now, that cow, which was just a cow, has now become a mitzvah from above the sun. Before there was something, there was nothing. Come on, look alive. Before there was something, there was nothing. Right. And that's what basketball coaches say. Look alive to their players. So before there was something, there was nothing. That nothing we call God. That nothing we call God. Okay, together. Before there was something, there was nothing. That nothing we call God. Excellent. Now there's 2 things we know about this nothing. 2 things. And this is step 3 and 4. Okay, so step 1 was nothing. Step 2 is the nothing's called God. And steps 3 and 4. 3 is that whatever that God is, which we have no idea what it is, nor will we ever know what it is. Moses didn't even get to see fully what it is. Whatever that is, there's only one of it. So number 3 is one. It's one. You can't have 2 nothings. Think about that for a moment. It might hurt your brain a little bit, but think about it. Can you have 2 nothings? You can't have 2 nothings. If you multiply nothing by 30, what do you get? Nothing. And so it's amazing, even though you can know nothing about it, meaning it's nothing, so nothing gives you nothing to go on, yet you know that it's an undifferentiated oneness, because this nothing, there can only be one of it. You can't have 2 nothings. And the next thing we know about it is, and this you can use any term you want, but let's start at least with the word intention. That nothing has intention. It has intention. There's intent. How do you know? How do you know that nothing has intention? Tell me, what is the propensity of nothing? What does nothing create? Nothing. Nothing makes nothing. If you had nothing in this room and we locked all the doors and sealed all the windows, and you came back a year later to find nothing in it, and then you sealed it again, you came back 5 years later, and would you be surprised that there's nothing in it? 100 years, 1,000 years, 10,000, no matter how many years, it doesn't matter. Nothing makes what? Nothing. So the fact is that because the space-time continuum didn't exist and then did exist, and meaning when it didn't exist there was absolutely nothing, and now it does exist, so therefore that nothing has somehow produced here, and nothing usually doesn't produce. And now that we see nothing produces, meaning it produces a world, a universe, well, we just found out something about the nothing, and that is that it has, the word I used so far was intention. But in looking at the world, I would add the word intelligence for its systems and stuff, and you see it's made of intelligence. But if you go into the physics of it, you really see the intelligence. Because in the end, it's all intelligence. Even the physical is intelligence. We'll go there in a second. Okay, let's just review. We're at step 4. Okay, before there was something, there was that nothing we call God. And it is absolutely one, and it is made of intelligence. Made of intelligence, or has intelligence. If you really want to get technical, it really uses intelligence, but it is again beyond any description and even beyond intelligence. It's employing intelligence. And in fact, those who are davening shacharit in here, is OU Taf or Saf? Because I'm used to, I speak to Sephardic. I was in Mexico was only Sephardic community, so I would say those who are involved in davening shacharit. Yeah. So what's the OU?
Whatever you want.
All in favor of Taf, raise your hand. Taf. All in favor of Saf, raise your hand. No, you lose. Okay, we're back to Taf. So sorry. So in the words in Shacharit, it says Kulam b'chachma asita, that you Art Scroll says you made them all with wisdom. Yeah. But if you listen to the words more carefully, Kulam b'chachma asita, meaning you used chachma, meaning it was employed. It was an intelligence that was employed by you. And b'chachma would be like a faucet, like you used the faucet called chachma to spray the world into existence. Like that's the idea, that Hashem's utilizing these things. He's beyond them, but that's getting too deep, and we can do that. If we ever create a series out of this, I'll explain the difference between him and the attributes, but that's not for now. Now step 5. So step 4 was the intelligence. It's made of intelligence. Or it's utilizing intelligence. Step 5 is, what did God use to create the world? Did he go to Home Depot? Did he go to Costco? What did he use? All there was God. There's no space and time. But all there was God. What did God use to create the world? Speech, Torah, these are all excellent answers, but much later. Much later. There's a whole path of how things got going. And there's something before speech, words, letters, okay? There's thought, and there's 3 levels of thought. Let's work backwards. Dat, Bina, Chachma, and there's something even before.
Keter.
She got it. There you go. Will or keter. Will, desire. Just like everything, you can't get anything started without it. Like you guys desire to be here tonight. Here you are. Yeah, without that desire, you would not be here. And there might have been a lot involved in getting you here. Those are all the mitos. You know, if we do a 10 spheres class ever, I could show you literally according to the 10 spheres how you got here. But none of it happens without first keter, without first will. And everything's made of will. Will is the magic of creation. Everything's made of will. What's that?
That was Ratzon, is will.
The same thing, will and Ratzon. The keter is called Ratzon. Yeah, which is amazing because because it's not even on the body yet of the midas, it's above. And nothing even gets into the midas until there's a desire. So, but literally everything's made of desire, everything. And this building standing there, people desire to build this building. I don't know if, did you build this or did they buy it? I don't know. What? Whether they built it or bought it, there was certainly a desire for the OU to inhabit it. And here we are. What's the Brooklyn Bridge made of? Desire. People in Brooklyn want to get to New York a lot quicker. And out of that desire, there's a bridge. And even the steelworkers desired to feed their families using their handiwork. That was their desire. Your clothing's made of the desire of clothing manufacturers to make a living with that, designers to make their living with creativity, seamsters and seamstresses who are trying not to get beaten in bamboo cages. Just kidding. Everything's made of desire. Everything. Your own body's made of desire for your parents towards one another. Like, there's nothing you will ever see or do is outside desire. And that's why this new generation of kids are so scary to me. They're so scary because everything's become so immediately gratifying. There's such immediate gratification that what's called the law of diminishing returns, which we're all used to. You know, you get something and then it's not quite the same afterwards. Well, when we worked hard to get something and then got it, and then there was a law of diminishing returns, it was a long trip. Long trip up, you got it, long trip down. But what's happening today is everything is so readily available that the trip up's immediate, and the trip down's quite immediate as well. And what you'll notice over time is as they keep trying to get, while on your way up, you're already passing all these other lines of diminishing returns from things you got even 24 hours ago. And what gets wiped out in the end is the desire. And so try teaching Torah to someone that has no desire. Try doing anything. Try making a living if you have no desire. Or achieving wisdom without desire. It's very scary. Very scary. And how do you teach answers to questions that were never asked? Boy, I'm talking about King Solomon so much, I'm starting to say crazy things. How do you answer questions? How do you answer questions that were never asked? Because the question's just your desire for knowledge. Today as rabbis, we have to give the question and the answer. This is a beautiful song that's on a
Sorry. This is a good time to stop and remind everyone to please turn off your cell phone.
Oh yeah. I love this ringer and how buried it is in your purse. It's amazing. And she even answered it. We'll wait. Oh my gosh. These are like my favorite moments in teaching. When you do a lot of teaching, it's the interruptions that become the best part. I get these people coming in like 10 minutes before I'm finished, apologizing for coming late. And I'm like, you're the most interesting thing that has happened to me all day. Please do it again tomorrow. I think the best joke I ever had was in Borough Park in a large audience. And they were just laughing and laughing and laughing. I was like a stand-up comic. I was teaching, but they were just laughing and laughing and laughing. I was like suddenly Rabbi Orlovsky or something. And I got touched by Rabbi Orlovsky's magic. And they were laughing and laughing and laughing. But what made them roar was I finally looked at them and it's like, oh my gosh, this city is, meaning Borough Park, is entertainment starved. And they roared. Because they realized that's what's going on here, is they've just never been entertained before. And it was like seeing their first movie or something. It was funny, the next night I said the same joke at Flatbush. I figured, hey, it went over well in the Borough Park. I'll say at Flatbush. We got negative emails and phone calls saying, how dare he say we are entertainment stars? Anyway, this is me learning Brooklyn. Like Borough Park was proud of the fact that they're entertainment stars, and Flatbush was embarrassed. And I insulted them for saying that they're just like out to lunch when it comes to entertainment. And I was trying to give them a compliment. I was saying like, it's an ear shel Torah. Like, this is Torah. Like, you're into Torah. So obviously I'm very entertaining. Whatever. Okay. Now, step 5. Where did God go to create the world? He did not go to Home Depot. If all there was this intelligence, if that's all there was, or all there was God. If all there was, I'm giving away the answer. If all there was God, what did God use to create the world? Himself. Excellent. Himself. She keeps going Kabbalistic on me. He created the world out of himself. That's all there was. Now, obviously not all of himself, because he's infinite. He's creating something finite, so it's, that'll be step 6. We'll get there. But God created the world out of himself, because that's all there was himself. Well, what is this stuff that God created the world out of? And the answer is that it was created out of the intelligence. And what's amazing about this, and this whole class, every step of the way it jives with science, and especially metaphysics. Did I say metaphysics? Quantum physics. And that is that this whole world is made of intelligence. The Ständer is made of protons, neutrons, and electrons that are moving really fast in vibrational patterns. They have frequencies. There's frequency here. Okay? Your clothing is also made of protons, neutrons, and electrons. Your glasses, your skin, your hair, everything's made. You're made of the same stuff of everything around you. It's just moving at different rates. It's just moving at different frequencies. Different combinations of the protons, neutrons, and electrons are making your clothing different than your body, which is different than the wall, which is different than the Ständer. But everything's frequencies. Your optic nerve is collecting all this mathematics. It's collecting the frequencies and telling you that there's a rabbi in front of you standing in front of this lectern. But it's really just moving frequencies. All it is frequencies. Best example is my sound. What you're hearing right now are my vocal cords vibrating. And let's say that they're vibrating, let's see here, that would be about, let's say it's 100 oscillations per second. An A string on my guitar, it's probably around there. That's 120 oscillations per second. About a half step down is about 100 oscillations per second. 200, 400. I'm not doing 800. I have not said a word of English since this shiur began. I've not said a word of English.
I agree with you.
Thanks, Ralph. All I've done is send vibrational patterns out of my mouth. I'm breaking them up, because these are the vibrations, but I'm breaking them up with the 5 exits of my mouth, which are the guttural, the palatal teeth, the lips, and the tongue. I'm breaking them up, which means the math's hitting your ears at even higher, crazier frequencies, because it's getting broken up. And, I'm not being that dynamic. I think when I speak in front of mics, I'm not very dynamic. But I can be speaking to you from all different frequencies, and you will catch it all. And what happens is you have a tympanic membrane in your ear called an eardrum, and it's like a little monkey's playing drums in there. And all he's doing is like he's playing drum rolls, but super high frequencies. Impossible to really detect. And it's sending all those vibrations, which are all just numbers. It's math. Going into your cerebral cortex, and in there you have the neurons in the billions. Give you a little neuron picture here. Let's see what those neurons are. Oh, my favorites, albums, favorites, neurons. So you have billions of these neurons here. Okay, see that neuron? You see that? You have billions of these neurons, and neurons either fire or don't fire. Fire or don't fire. And they're all connected to each other. You have billions, here's a couple connected. See those little strings coming up? Yeah, those are all connected to each other. They're fully networked with each other, and there are billions of them in your brain. This is magnified by hundreds of thousands of times over. And these neurons are taking the stimulation of your ears, all that math, doing all the calculations, matching it with every bit of English. They're matchers, they match with the past. They're matching all of those calculations with every time you've ever heard English. And then, like in real time, feeding back a class in English when I haven't said a word in English. And how am I creating these vibrations? I could never, if I thought about it, I would be OCD and go crazy and wouldn't be able to talk. But yet, somehow my heart desires to say something and it just, boom, extreme calculations. I can't even do basic math. I certainly couldn't create language. And this is why the Kabbalists tell us that our language is only a gift of the neshama. Because you're neshama and it's godly. Language is godly. It is supernatural. It's a bit in our ability, meaning obviously you can calculate the language using sensors, but that I can create that and that you can decipher it and turn those vibrational patterns. And if you think you're a great if you think your neurons are good at math, all those ones and zeros, the binary code of your neurons firing or not firing, you think they're good at math because of your ears. Do you know how much your optic nerve's taking in mathematically? It blows away the audio, the auditory nerves. The optic nerves blow them away in their math. The whole world is made of the intelligence of God. Before there was something, there was nothing. That nothing is what we call God. It is absolute oneness. It's got this intelligence, this consciousness, because it made something. Nothing makes nothing. So since it made something, it must know what it's doing. And step 5 is our world here is made of that intelligence. And that's where the Tzimtzum comes up, which is the greater detail, which is amazing in this series of classes I do on Kabbalah, is understanding the Tzimtzum, the actual breakdown from this one light into matter. Amazing how light becomes matter. But that light is made of Hashem, and that squelching down or veiling or filtering out until it finally coagulates or congeals into matter, weaves. The letters actually, those who said words or speech, those letters actually are weaving our creation into existence. But it's made of the intelligence. And amazingly, in quantum physics, that's what they're discussing. That's the whole study, is that everything's made of this intelligence. They have laser beams they can go right through this thing and right through the other side without even touching the walls of this thing. Because they know the speeds, they know the frequencies. Once you can determine the frequency that this moves, I can set the laser in a frequency that's going to dance between the raindrops of the actual moving molecules and cross through it. Literally dancing through it. Amazing. It's amazing. Everything's made of that. There is nothing else. Now let's turn on the magic of step 5. The magic of step 5 is what it's all about. Let us spend a moment on step 5 and just get in touch with the implications of the whole world being made of the intelligence of God. Let's take, for example, something that turned me into an atheist, basically. I was raised an atheist, but this really turned me into an atheist during my college years, was the history of, oh my gosh, thank you so much for these molecules. God's intelligence here. Amazing. Yeah, I drink a lot of water when I speak. One of the things that really turned me off of I mean, I wasn't raised very observant, but in Europe, I toured and I saw the bloodbath of people killed in the name of God. And I just figured, because we're like the father of all the world's religions, that they must have got it from us. I knew nothing about Judaism, so it's like, I just figured we're the culprits. So like, I booked us with the other criminals. And like, they kill in the name of God, and we must have taught them that. Little did I know what a peace-loving people we are. But when you understand it Kabbalistically, that why are we such a peace-loving people? Because who are you killing? According to the Kabbalah, who are you killing when you kill in the name of God? Who are you killing? God. You're killing God. Everything's made of this intelligence. Well, the intelligence is coming from God. And when God's putting himself into creation, squelching it down into what's called Elokus. That's the name of God, called Elohim. You're killing God, though. Okay, it's Elokus. You can't kill God, but you're killing God. And it just changes you. Because you're going to be much more careful what you say. Lashon Hara is not. Because what are those vibrational patterns? If I speak Lashon Hara, what are the vibrations made of?
God.
Made of God. I don't think I want to be putting out vibrational patterns that are going to be harmful. And nobody got time for that. Yeah. And then there's hurtful speech, vibrational patterns. Hurting anyone's like hurting God. As you get to live step 5, you get to be more careful. And it's special. It's a very special way of looking at the world. It makes you want to tread lightly on this planet. So I have a saying. My saying is I want to have the smallest footprint and the biggest handprint. I want to have treaded as little as possible on this world made of godliness, elokus. But I want to have touched the world and made a difference. Smallest footprint, biggest handprint. Now, who is that lady who sits across from me every Shabbos night? Who is that lady? What? Okay, it's my wife, but Kabbalistically, what is it?
God.
It's God. Elokus. It's not God, but we're going to get to step 6. Right now, let's just, as I said, you got to bear with me, because I'm kind of out there. Okay? So the answer is, it's God in the form of my wife, Leah. How am I going to speak to her? Respectfully, with gratitude, with care. It's God in the form of my wife. Wow. Who are all those kids around the table? God in the form of my kids. Who are you? God in the form of people. Treading lightly. Smallest footprint, biggest handprint. I want to make as big a difference for you guys as possible. I want to make a big difference for my wife and kids. Big a difference for the Jewish people. I don't want to cause the smallest, least harm I can possibly. I wish I could take back that joke I made at Flatbush. Here I was trying to compliment the community and I just upset people. Those moments, they kill me. Oh, I hate it. We get in these little discrepancies over money sometimes with people. I don't want that. It's all made of God. So I'm married to God, and there's God around my table. And let's get to the food, the Shabbos food. First of all, how about that wine, the Israeli wines? And how about the nerve endings on my tongue that are like these taste buds that can distinguish great distinctions? And I've gotten into wine a little bit just from fancier students. They're always coming from the hotels. The beauty of living in Nachlaot or Rechavia or Shai Chesed is all the people in the hotels can come visit and bring their fancy wines. I'm not a wine snob, I'll drink any wine, but I do notice the difference. But as the wine dances around your taste buds, it's all vibrational patterns. It's such a one experience. Wow. But I'm personally, from a little kid, I was always a big beer connoisseur. And every Shabbos night, as soon as I finished my wine, I mean, I make Kiddush, past the Kiddush out. But immediately I'm digging into before washing the hands, I have a boutique exotic beer. Usually some kind of Indian pale ale or a stout of some sort or some other delicious ale. And it is a God experience. And another reason I drink it is because I grew up on it, and I distinguish tastes in beer like not a normal person. I'm not normal. But I'm talking about Gehenna here. I'm gonna get upstairs and God's like, what was with the Maccabi? I mean, I set up your taste buds to have a spectrum of taste that was like, it had like another 100 levels down and another 100 levels up. I don't know what up and down are in taste buds, but you just missed it. You just missed it. I was in there. I was in this ale, and I was in that stout, I was in that Indian pale ale, I was in those things. And you just like, oh, I'll take a Maccabi, please. Yeah, Maccabi. Okay, here's your Maccabi. And I don't want to speak badly about the Maccabees, obviously. You know, Hanukkah's coming up. And by the way, I don't mind like these cheap lagers for after sports. It's a sports drink. So I don't mind after sports, but not Shabbos night. Shabbos night. That's going to be something special. And the same thing in my car, which is parked outside. My car has 11 speakers and 2 amplifiers in it. A gift from the Citroen Motor Company, actually. Yeah. It was the miracle of this car, how I got this car was an absolute miracle. But I remember I was driving to pick up, I don't just get any stereo system, I'm a musician, and music, my ears hear distinctions in music that people just don't hear. I grew up in studio, I'm always in studio recording and stuff. And so I have to have the 11 speaker 2 amplifier, you know, it's gunning on wheels. And I was driving over there thinking, how did I managed to like radiate this car into my life, which was a miracle because I had no money and I was driving this like dangerous jalopy. And I radiated this car in my life, but how did I radiated like the cars are expensive here. And I radiated the car, but how did I not radiate the stereo? And I go spend 10,000 shekels on a stereo. How am I going to do that? Just then the phone rings, and I kid you not, I mean, this sounds like an absolute old wives' tale, but it's real. I get a phone call from Citroen saying, it was the saleswoman. She says, I've never seen this before, but somehow Citroen has given you a 10,000 shekel rebate. And her concern was, when can I come? Because every single time she needed me to come for the car, like getting a car in Israel is like, it's like a root canal. It's like multiple visits. You know, anywhere else in the world, you go in, you choose the car, and you drive out. In Israel, buying a car is a root canal. There are people who help you buy your car now. You can hire someone to help you. Anyone tried hiring someone to buy their car? You did it. You did it too. Yeah. You have to hire somebody to help you buy a car. Oh my gosh. So her concern was, she knows every time I had to come for root canal, it would take days to weeks till I had time to get over to Tapio to deal with them. And she's like, when can you be here? I'm like, how's 30 seconds? She's like, what do you mean? I'm on my way to pick up the stereo for 10,000 shekels, and it's at the end of your street in Tapio. And 30 seconds later, I'm standing in front of her, I'm like, I'll take that. Boom. There it was. Yeah, miracle. Miracle. Amazing. But why? Why have that stereo? Good luck explaining to the Rosh Yeshiva Panovich why I need this stereo. Why this stereo? Who can answer? Now you guys got to answer. I explained already the wine, I explained the beer, I explained my wife, the kids. Someone, come on, raise your hand and tell me why.
When you get upstairs, you have to explain. Why don't you try it, huh?
Yeah, because the factory installed stereo is missing a bunch of megahertz on the low end, a bunch of megahertz on the high end, and the whole middle range is mud. Yeah, on the good ones, not for you. Anyone else who listens to it, it's beautiful. I can sit in these fancy cars and I say, do you mind if I just play with the sound a little bit? They're like, please. And I do my best to optimize the factory-built stereo, in a $200,000 Range Rover, or Maseratis and stuff. I try to fix the sound. It never sounds anywhere near my stereo. Because God's going to ask me about those frequencies because I was in them. I was in there. Where were you? This is the basis of one of the most important aspects of Jewish spirituality is Hashem everywhere, in everything. This is not like a luxury to know this stuff. Step 5. This isn't like, oh cool, now I know this is great, what a fun night at the OU. And this is everything. When you lay down in your bed tonight, which I bless you as a comfortable bed, and if it's not, invest. But let that thing support you because it's all Hashem holding you. He's holding you. Who doesn't want to be held by Hashem? And I know some people are single and would love to be held, and you're being held every night, and you're missing it. You're being held. Even the chair you're in, take a moment and be supported. I know it's a chair, but what's the chair made of? If not Elokuz, he's holding you. He would love to hold you himself, but he's infinite. And there's something about finite beings being hugged by infinite beings doesn't work out so well. Could be disastrous. And so he's got a chair around you, and he's got put clothing around you to protect your body and keep your skin warm and stuff here. You are in the middle of a hug. God is hugging you right now. You understand, this is not a luxury learning here. This is life itself. This is your daily life. And this is what's available to the disciplined mind that can just stop, take a deep breath, and just experience the fact that you are what is called a hardcore monotheist. Jews are hardcore monotheists. Okay. The Gentiles, softcore monotheists. Meaning they believe there's a God, but they believe it's out there. They believe in a God out there. And we're here, God's there, and everyone minds their own business. He shows up once a week. Don't laugh, there's plenty of Jews who think he shows up once a year. I remember it was my first trip back when I became observant. I went back after 6 months of yeshiva. I was learning Yiddish Torah. And it was a pretty interesting visit. My little re-entry into my old life, coming back a fully observant Jew. I left there with 100 of these coming down my back in a tank top with an airbrush mushroom on it and an amethyst bead, big amethyst though, flip-flops and shorts. That's how I showed up in Israel. I didn't have Shabbos clothes, so I was going to Shabbos in the south. You see these guys once in a while. And, keep your hands and feet away from its mouth. Anyway, I re-enter into the U.S. and into my old school world, and I'm surfing with the guys, and we're drinking beer, and we're having a great time. It was a really nice trip. And of course, they come in at dawn to take me surfing, and they find me in these black boxes. And they're just like, what is going on there? And I saw them peeking in through the blinds, and they see me in these black boxes, and there are my friends just like going, getting all the rest of the guys out of the car. Check this out. In the car right there, like, what were those black boxes? I'm like, You know when like an airplane crashes and they're looking for the black boxes? Those are the black boxes. And anyway, the trip went on. I was there for 3 weeks. At the end of the 3 weeks, so one of them confronted me in front of the others. And he says, you know, my English name's Johnny. They're like, Johnny, we all grew up with, you know, with Chris Smith, who was one of our buddies. He was the religious guy. He was our only religious friend. What that meant during the week was zero. Came Sunday, it also meant nothing, except at around 10 in the morning after we served, he would disappear for 2 hours. And then by, 12 o'clock, he was pounding beers with us at the side of the pool. And being just as much of a knucklehead as the rest of us. And he was our religious friend. For you, it's like full time. Every time we were doing anything, you were back involved with it. Like even after we surfed, we were on our way to McDonald's, which is always like the post-surf, gluttony. And when you surf, you don't realize you're dehydrating, number one. And two is you don't feel your hunger, but your mouth's filled with salt water every time you touch the water. You come out ravenous after surfing. And so you had us pull over the car on the edge of Pacific Coast Highway. You went to the drinking fountains of the Zuma Beach bathrooms, and we see you washing your hands, you making blessings. You came into the car, you holding your bread, you're making blessings on your bread. Like you're like full time. Full time. Every time we're with you, we're always doing something. What's the deal? And so I said to them, God's full time, I'm full time. So many people use their kippas like punch cards, you know. Some people punch in at like funerals. Some people punch in when they're visiting Israel. You know, they have a kippah just for when they visit Israel. Some people punch in at synagogues. You know, people treat them like punch cards. God doesn't punch out. Why are we punching out? There's no reason to punch out. And here's a real punch out. I remember every night I'd go to bed when I was a buffer. It was right after this conversation when they said I'm full time. So I went back to Israel after 3 weeks, and I was going to bed once again and putting my kippah on the night table and laying down. And that night I said to myself, you know what? Let it just fall off while I'm sleeping. Why should I punch out? He's going to be watching me while I sleep. He's taking care of me. He's running the system. Everything's him anyways. Why would I punch out at bedtime? Just because I'm knocked out doesn't mean I have to punch out. And so I kept it on. And let it fall off. I found it in the morning. Later, as I got more froom, I started wearing the soup bowl here. And it stays on. I wake up with a kippah on my head. It's amazing. And my sons too. They'll wake up with kippahs on their head. Except for the little munchkin. But some mornings it's even on his head. Step 6. You guys remember we're in a class here? We're in a class. Okay, let's just review 1 through 6. Okay, this time I want you to say it all with me instead of me saying it because you won't remember it otherwise, so I want you to get it. So what we're going to say is before there was something, there was nothing. Ready? Step 1. Before there was something, there was nothing. Okay, step 2 is Judaism calls that nothing God. Ready? 2. Judaism calls that nothing God. Okay, because remember, God's not a thing. Okay? He created things. He precedes things. Step 3. That God is, you can only have one nothing. Say that. You can only have one nothing. Okay. So it's oneness. Step 4 is that it is intelligence. Go ahead. It is intelligence. Or let's just say it like this. Before there was something, there was nothing. That nothing is what we call God. It's one. It's intelligence. Okay. Step 5 is the world's made of that intelligence. Our whole world's made of that intelligence. So we are ultimately of it. We're of it. which in Hebrew, so remember we spoke about the different names, so in Hebrew that's called Elohim. And you notice the name Elohim has a peculiar suffix? Yeah, Yud and Mem. Yud and Mem signifies plural. Yelad, Yeladim, Kadur, Kadurim. How do we have a plural name of God? Aren't we monotheists? And the answer is, we're hardcore monotheists. Not only do we believe God's one out there, we believe that oneness, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem, that oneness, Echad, pervades in here. It's pervasive. He's not just eminent, he's immanent. Okay, he's not just the tortilla, he is the rice and beans. Yeah? Muchacho. Yeah. He's surrounding and filling all of creation. The name Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei, stands for Haya, Hoveh, yes, was as will be. Okay, surrounding space and time, beyond space and time. And then the name Elohim, or Elokeinu, is Elohim Shalanu. You know, whenever you say Elokeinu, the name in your mind should be Elohim. It's Elohim Shalanu. It's Elokeinu. I know it sounds ethnocentric to say our God, but the Rashi answers that. And check out Rashi on Shema Yisrael, he explains why it's our God. But Elohim is how God fills creation. That's the basis of one of the most quick and immediate accesses to spirituality that's in your physical world around you. Your physical spiritual. In Judaism, your physical spiritual. The Gentiles, you'll see, if they really want spiritual, they have to they opt for it, and then they have to transcend physical. Celibacy and monastic vows, fasting, renouncing of worldly possessions so that the monastery takes care of you. You can't be involved in the physical needs of day-to-day life and the wherewithal to pay for it. In Judaism, the spirituality is all around you. Everything is oozing with elokus. Everything is oozing with elokus. Okay? It is all around you. And it always has been. It's just waiting for you to tune in. By the way, everything I'm teaching right now in step 5 is not very popular today in the Haredi world. And they're in the last couple hundred years, they've moved away from step 5. It's become a much more ascetic system, where it's like, who are you to find God in your beer, etc., and all the other things. It's just much more ascetic. But I feel very confident sharing with you step 5 because I'm a Chazal Jew. Just go back literally 300 years and all the way back, and good luck finding anything talking about asceticism in Judaism. Yeah.
Can I make a comment here?
Please, yes.
So Elohim in Gematria is 86, the exact same as Hateva.
Yeah.
So right there, that kind of says your whole physical world is Elohim.
Right. He was bringing up the numerical value of Hateva, the nature, is 86. Meaning the natural world is the same numerical value as Elohim. Thank you very much. The reason I don't say it is I would say it if you and I were together, but you know why I don't say it. You know why? The hey. Because all that someone has to say is, yeah, with the hey, Hateva. You know? And so I get hecklers, man. People heckle me. What's your name, by the way?
Rabbi.
Rabbi. Yom Tov. Nice to meet you. So, gotta watch those gematria hecklers. Kolel, yeah, very convenient with the kolel. So, they have these gematria things that'll say, it'll be like one short, and they'll say, but with God, it becomes the same numerical value.
Or the whole word.
Yeah, or that's called the kolel. The kolel is with the whole word. The whole word also, because it's a word, it gets also a unit. You know, it makes people roll their eyes. So I generally, when I teach, I only do direct gematrias. You do too. So, okay. Step 6. Step 6. Step 6 is, so if step 5 is we are it, capital I it, if we are it, step 6 is it ain't us. Okay? It ain't us. It is infinitely beyond us. Okay? We're it, meaning we're made of that intelligence that he's kind of shooting into the world. We're made of that because that's all there is. He made the world from himself. But he didn't take all of himself and create the world. Himself is infinite. And therefore anything finite, what's the ratio of whatever he makes finite to his infiniteness? It's an impossible thought what that ratio would be. But we have to do step 6, you know why? Because if I just said everything in the physical world is made of Elokus, well, someone might walk out of here and says, well, then I'm God. And you're going to go announce it at the kotel. You're going to say, like, where you been studying? Oh, with Rabbi Glaser, the OU Center. Next thing you know, the Revinson's getting phone calls, I'm getting phone calls. You know? And the person escapes the people at the kotel and goes and rents a Lamborghini. They're driving up the aisle alone at 200 kilometers per hour. They're like, it's all God. How do you get this thing out of first gear? And they get pulled over and the officer's like, are you out of your mind? They're like, it's all God, officer. It's all God. You're God, I'm God, the car's God. And 200 miles per hour is God. He's like, well, why don't you put God behind your back? And we're going to put God around your wrists. I'm going to take you to the courthouse to have a little conversation with God. That's why we need step 6. Step 5 is Anochi Hashem Elokecha. It's not really, but it's the Achdus of Hashem, Shema Yisrael Hashem. Let's go. Step 5 is Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. It's the mitzvah. It's one of the 613 mitzvahs. Is number 5. To know that God is one, and if He's one, there ain't two. Not me, not you. Hu echad ve'ein sheni. He is oneness. There is no other. That's step 5. Achdus Hashem. Oneness of God. Sorry, Achdus Hashem. Step 6 is Lo Yelchem Elohim Acherim. You can't have any other gods, so don't point to any of the Elokus and bow down to it. Don't give reverence. Don't revere things of the physical world. Even though godliness is in there, even though it's full of Elokus, God, the living God, is infinitely beyond any point you can point at. And therefore, we need step 6. That step 5 is that we are of it, but step 6 is it ain't of us. It's infinitely beyond us. It's infinite. And Elokus is in the finite. And therefore, Hashem is infinitely beyond Elokus. Elokim. Elokut. But I'd like to illustrate with a little funny story. Imagine I dip this cup of water into the Atlantic Ocean, and I bring it carefully to the Greenwich Village in Manhattan. And I'm walking around with the cup, and I'm announcing to the people walking by that I've got the Atlantic Ocean here. Ladies and gentlemen, the Atlantic Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean. I'm just walking around Greenwich Village with the Atlantic Ocean. Now I'm singing, I got the Atlantic Ocean in my hand. In my hand. Anyway, eventually I wind up bumping into one of these like post 9/11 NYPD guys. And he's like, come with me, sir. And he takes me away, he's holding my cup of water carefully so it doesn't explode. And he brings it to the lab and sits with me. He's asking me like 20 questions on what's going on with me and why I feel this way about my cup of water. And anyway, eventually the guy comes out with a lab coat and a clipboard and he says, okay, we did a run up on the water. And the officer says, so what's in it? He says, well, officer, that's the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, can I go now? Get out of here. Where's my cup of water? Get out of here. I gotta go all the way back to the Atlantic Ocean. Now, what's ridiculous about that story is that this cup of water is obviously, I mean, what's the ratio of a cup of water to the Atlantic Ocean? What is the ratio? Does anyone know? I checked it out before class. It's a godzillion. You ever heard that term, a godzillion? Godzillions, only God knows how many zillions of cups of water there are in the Atlantic Ocean. This has become a household term in my house now. My little guy, when he's 4 years old, I would tell him, I love you. I love you too. I love you a million. I love you too. He finally says, I love you a godzillion. And then I get to ask him, because he knows from my classes, he's heard me, what's a godzillion, Yisrael? Only God knows how many zillions. 4 years old. So, anyway. Oh, have I been going too late? I love hecklers. Is it almost 10 o'clock? No, it's only 9:15. It's only 9:15. We're just getting started. This was all intro, obviously. Okay, anyway, so the question is, what is the ratio? What is the ratio of this cup of water, 1 to a godzillion? Now, here's the big question, yeah? Here's the big question. What's a greater ratio? You ready? This is the great question, it's the end of our class. What is the greater ratio? This cup of water to the Atlantic Ocean, or the entire space-time continuum to the infinite being that it's somehow expanding into?
Greater ratio.
That's the greater ratio. It is unfathomably large. And for people who have unfathomably large minds, this is the form of hisbonenus that Chabad kind of brought into the world, which is just trying to fathom how this being is so big. And I mean, there's like old school Chabad. What Chabad used to do is hours of meditation every day, before the mitzvah campaign of outreach and stuff. I mean, if you met a Chabad, this is what they did. This is before the last 50 years. And it's just unfathomably big, and this whole world is unfathomably small compared to it. So I was having a thought today in conclusion, and that is, someone's got to be making something up. Either God's making us up or we're making God up. Now, obviously, before there was something, there was absolutely nothing, and then there was something, so who made what up? God made us up. But we are ultimately, as we said, a figment of God's imagination, not vice versa. But imagine a person, imagine you're God, and there's some university intellectual. You know, some university intellectual with like, some professor who's like, he's got like office hours the first Thursday of every month from 11 a.m. to 11:05. Yeah, and this professor teaches his class that God is something man made up. Imagine being God. You're this unfathomably great being that has created the creation, and then this man in the scheme of things is not even a grain of sand. All our beaches in the world would be like a grain of sand compared to all of it. All our beaches would be a grain of sand. And what would that make him? Really small. And then he says we made up God. This is the definition of the term bonehead. Bonehead. Yeah. And this is why you can be the wisest man and the dumbest man at the same exact time. And if I had an hour to spend with a man who was as simple as Tevye and Fiddler on the Roof, or an hour to spend next to that professor, I'll take Tevye any day. Thank you very much. Shalom, everyone.